Some people look at protesters and ask why, the assumption being that officials will simply ignore the chants and the signs and stick with the moneyed interests. But in our #1 story tonight, it appears as though the protests Sunday against the Keystone pipeline and all the protests which preceded it may have indeed had an impact. Today, the State Department, that is the Obama administration, put a halt to the pipeline's creation, at least for now. The controversial 1,700-mile project would run from Canada to Texas. It's caused a huge public outcry. A special session of Nebraska's state legislature was forced to meet last week over concerns that the environmental impact of the pipeline would have on the Sand Hills region and the Ogallala Aquifer. Then on Sunday, demonstrators encircled the White House, protesting not only the environmental impact of the pipeline, but the possible conflict of interest involved in the environmental review by state. The State Department appears to have heard the message. In a statement today, given the concentration of concerns regarding the environmental sensitivities of the current proposed route through the Sand Hills area of Nebraska, the department has determined it needs to undertake an in-depth assessment of potential alternative routes in Nebraska. The reassessment will focus on possibly rerouting the pipeline around the environmentally sensitive areas. It's expected to take up to a year and a half, which would put a final decision right after the 2012 election, or somewhat after perhaps the inauguration. In a statement today, the president supported the State Department's decision. He said, "We should take the time to ensure that all questions are properly addressed and all the potential impacts are properly understood." In case you thought the president was finally remembering his environmental promises, he also added, "At the same time, my administration will build on the unprecedented progress we've made towards strengthening our nation's energy security, from responsibly expanding domestic oil and gas production to nearly doubling the fuel efficiency of our cars and trucks, to continued progress in the development of a clean energy economy." I'll translate that from government speak into English. It's not a no, it's a no right now. Joining me now, the actor, activist, and Countdown contributor, Mark Ruffalo. Thanks for your time tonight, Mark.
Thanks for having me, Keith.
All right, you were at the protest Sunday. Do you see this as a victory despite that sort of caveat that's attached to it?
Actually, I do see it as a victory. You know, this, even 3 months ago, this was a done deal. And most insiders in the energy field considered it a completely done deal. And what we've seen happen is a protest that in August was 1,200 people for the Keystone pipeline in our capital, went to 12,000 people on Sunday. And I think the mood of the nation right now is actually getting people out of their homes and into the streets. I think the Occupy Wall Street movement has energized a lot of people. I think the extreme weather that we've been seeing is driving home this idea of climate change. People are starting to, in America, are starting to see climate change as a reality. And because of that, the message that the Keystone pipeline and burning the tar sands would actually be game over for us in climate change motivated people to stand up and start speaking out. And I think this is just the beginning.
Do you think that it's actually being, the decision itself has been delayed, or is it one of those delays that are done until after an election because one side or the other is going to be really upset by the outcome? Is it one of those, and do you have an idea which side is going to be really upset by the outcome, the environmentalists or the corporations?
Well, historically, when they delay something like this, it doesn't bode well for that particular project. Right. You know, there is a political calculation going on here, and our president is indeed a political animal, and he obviously is taking the easy route out. But also, you know, they did appoint a new group to do the environmental impact study on it, and we feel confident that if there isn't capital cronyism, you know, if they really are going to do an independent group to study this instead of one of TransCanada's own sort of clientele, and Entrex was the company that was used before, who is a big client. TransCanada is a big client of them. I think we have a chance of this actually not being as good a deal as it looks. But we're seeing this kind of movement spreading out. We have now the DRBC happening. The hearings for the DRBC in the Delaware River Basin are about to happen on November 21st. And that's mobilizing a huge group of people to show up there and protest them voting to start hydrofracking the Delaware River.
Do you think protests should be focused towards the Delaware River now, or what about the people who are on this case? Do they need to stay on top of it during this 12 to 18 months additional review?
I know the people that have been on this are going to stay on it, but they're also pivoting to the Delaware River Basin, which is where 15.6 million people get their water. This idea, you know, climate change is real, and the International Energy Agency just came out today or yesterday saying that if we don't take care of this in the next 5 years, we will never be able to take care of it. And that's a real agency. Mm-hmm. And there's a growing concern that we better start coming up with a national energy policy that doesn't rely on carbon-based fuels. And this movement, there's a huge movement throughout the United States that's coalescing around that idea and shutting down this idea that natural gas is the bridge fuel and that the tar sands are going to lead us to independent and energy independence for our country are primary to moving forward with a real national renewable energy policy.
Amen. Actor, activist, Countdown contributor Mark Ruffalo, always a pleasure, sir. Thank you for wearing that lovely suit tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Keith.
Inside joke.